So while we're waiting, any new news from anybody?
Well, I can say it's kind of exciting. We've on the Facebook site, people are starting to post videos.
Yes.
And Wendy, you saw that too this morning. A lady in India who teaches it to kids.
Yeah, it's always so amazing to see the kids open right up. It's crazy how easy it is for them.
Yeah, she posted a couple videos of the kids doing it, and it's just, amazing, really.
Oh, doing what, if I may ask? What are we referring to?
Blindfold seeing.
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
Seeing, yeah. Kids can do it so fast.
I bet they're still in tune with all that.
Yeah, in fact, and I guess we should save it for the interview, but many parents are teaching their kids to do it, and the parents don't know the first thing about teaching them to do it, but they just have to let the kids know that they can do it, and then the kids do it.
Yeah.
That's the biggest secret, is being allowed to explore it, or to even have it brought to your attention that it's a possibility.
Exactly.
That's the big thing, to know that it's a possibility. I have a fellow right now contacted me from South Africa, if you can believe, and he's got him and his wife built a school for kids in South Africa, and he's kind of trying to support that area and stuff, but he contacted me and he really wants to learn himself. And what thrilled me is that once he learns, he wants to teach it to his kids. And that was just pumped me totally, because he always sends me pictures of his kids and stuff in his school. So I think it's pretty cool when they're wanting to do that.
Well, maybe we should go ahead and start, because I can see there's already amazing information coming out that the public would want to hear.
Sure.
Kat, we're going to introduce to the world who you are with short information for all of you. She has that information, that she's from special agent from CIA. and then we can start, because we can talk for different things, but basically all the stuff they connected, like, for example, like consciousness, meditation, remote viewing. A man, he's an expert of paranormal investigator also. Even he has an institute for teaching people how to do paranormal investigation. And he creates something like a handbook about this. Anyway, conversation will be very interesting. Okay, I'm start recording now. Kat, are you ready?
Oh, sure. But I think I'm going to go a little more loose with this. I'm going to say, raise your hand. Who wants to go first to do a short introduction?
My name is Aman Berry. I am a paranormal investigator from the greater Seattle, Washington area, but I work all over the world remotely via Zoom, FaceTime chat, email. So yeah, my primary, I guess my thing is I help people feel safe in their houses, I guess is what it comes down to. And that takes a lot of forms, but I'm going to be putting on a paranormal workshop coming up probably within the month, or at most in the next 2 months. So, keep your eyes out for that, but I'll keep everyone informed. So,
thank you. Kat, your turn.
Okay, well, good morning, everybody in the United States, Canada, and every place else, Bulgaria. Good morning. I'm in the Sacramento area of California. I'm an ordained minister, did work civilly, like in police and ambulance work, but was always interested in the psychic abilities and also the UFO phenomenon, just knowing since childhood that they're real. So I'm connected with ET Let's Talk and all the people that do CE5 around the world globally. So that's where my work is, in consciousness and opening up to the possibilities of contact, whether it's paranormal or an extraterrestrial, extra-dimensional. I think they might be the same. They're just us without our physical suits. So I love connecting with people. Let me pass the baton to, raise your hand, who's next?
This is beautiful. Next is Rob.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm from Canada, London, Ontario, Canada. And for me, it all started with two dramatic encounters with something in the sky when I was a kid. The first one was written up in the newspaper. Many hundreds of people saw it. It was during the big flap of 1966 through Michigan, although I live across the border in Canada, in Ontario, Canada. And that was very interesting. That got me started on my lifelong quest to trying to find out what this is all about. Since then, we've gotten involved in documentaries. We're on expeditions, including Wendy here, but Wendy can talk about that, around the world. And we've really had some interesting things, interesting encounters, and seen strange things, not only in the sky, but on the ground. Pardon me. And through that, through these journeys, we also met a person, Leonie Applet of Australia. And when we had got back from seeing her, she introduced me to this idea. She sent me a video of her children, her grandchildren, seeing around the room and playing games with blindfolds on. I thought it was a joke. I really did. And because Leonie's a very funny person, I said, "Are you serious? Is this true? If so, I want to learn it." So we got involved. Wendy got involved with me for the last 3 years. We've been learning this ability of seeing blindfolded. And we'll talk about more of this as we get into the show.
Thank you, Rob. Wendy?
My name's Wendy Gallant. I live in Bayfield, Ontario, Canada, right on the shores of Lake Huron, where there's known to be all kinds of sightings here. Mine started 4 years ago. I started seeing stuff out over the lake, and I started experiencing paranormal stuff at the same time. And that's when I met Rob. And thank heavens, because I didn't know what was happening to me. And I was actually reporting what I was seeing and what was happening. And he was kind of helping me get through all of that, because I had no idea. As it went on, Rob did contact me about the seeing, which just kind of fell into what I was doing. And also with his expeditions and that, he invited me to a few of the expeditions also, and had some amazing things happen. But we've been focusing on the seeing for the last 3-4 years. And because of our ages, it's a little more difficult than children. And so we've been diligent and almost getting there to the actual seeing in real time. So, and that's what I mean, is that you have the blindfold on and you can actually see the room in real time, just like with your eyes. So that's where we are at this point. And then we decided to start up the Facebook page and the YouTube channel to put it out to everybody, because we always said that it's so expensive to take these courses. And it was always something that's actually natural to everybody. Everybody has it. They just weren't aware. And we didn't think it was right to charge all these huge prices. So that's how our Facebook page started. So.
Wow, this is very interesting. Thank you very much, everybody. You're beautiful souls and beautiful people. If you want, we can start our conversation about conscious, because conscious is something like basic and all this stuff, like connections like remote viewing or ability to see a presence of another dimensions. What do you think about conscious? How we can develop our conscious to lift ourselves? Everybody can start with that. Because I don't see you separately, so you can. I don't see your hands, so just.
I guess I have something to say on that. I was really interested with what you were saying, Wendy, about seeing blindfolded, because I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but I study very traditional Chinese martial arts, Qigong, Tai Chi, other forms. And in those styles, we actually practice blindfolded. That's part of the advanced training, where we put a blindfold on and we have people point at us, and it's up to us to decide when we're being pointed at from what direction. And we call that sensing drills, sensitivity drills. And I just found it really fascinating, the cross-disciplinary studies here, where something as, esoteric as Kung Fu goes to something more modern, like the science of seeing blindfolded. I guess the corollary that I've seen is we're changing our brainwave states. You know, in each we're moving to a more theta, more gamma frequency, and that allows us access to our unconscious mind, our higher dimensional faculties. And I think that is the, like you were saying, consciousness being the fundamental ground of being through which all these separate phenomena manifest.
Mhm.
That's really my 2 cents on that.
That's interesting. Maybe we can continue with this with Rob and Wendy. You both of you guys doing experiments with like this method with coloring the eyes, recognizing object colors. What else you can do with that?
Well, really, it all seems to be all connected, Ivan.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, when you start down this road of practicing to see blindfolded, you can go down the road of many other of these abilities as well. And I know Wendy has experimented with spoon bending, and that really is just concentrating energy from her mind or her consciousness. I'm not sure. Maybe Wendy can speak to this in a minute, but she applies it to the spoon and literally the spoon bends. There's many other areas that you can get involved in. I've seen, you know, different videos on the internet. We've watched documentaries that you can only purchase where very special things are being done. I've never seen levitation, but I imagine it's all part of this. There's telekinesis where you can affect material objects. And I know, Kat, you can speak to a lot of these things, but I believe that this is all connected. And once you start down the road, you can go down many different other branches. And it really depends on which one or ones that you want to have mastery over. But whichever disciplines you choose, it will require a lot of practice and self-discipline, research, and just diligence and time.
That was well said. I also believe everything is connected in consciousness, and whatever you focus your awareness on seems to present more information for you. I've even noticed that when searching on the internet, if I'm just thinking about something, suddenly it's there. But I think it's also amazing from a spiritual side. Isn't it interesting how we all ended up at the right place at the right time to learn these things and share them with others and to have these relationships with each other? And I think it's been truly amazing. And I don't know if that means we've been led to be here to do this, or if it's some sort of maybe an agreement that you make before you're born. I do believe in dying and coming back over and over again until maybe you get it right. So maybe this is some sort of a contract where we can all work together, or we've worked together in other lives. But any practice, like even remote viewing, I noticed as soon as I started doing that it opened it up to more things like lucid dreaming, travel, getting weird messages in the middle of the night. And only a couple of times, but when you get those auditory messages, it's a little shocking to hear your name called and something being said, because you immediately think it's your imagination, right?
Well, exactly. And I can say, for example, when Wendy and I first started practicing together to learn this ability, it really just started with trying to see colors in front of you. Like Wendy would have her blindfold on like that, and I would hold up the colors, you know, various different colors one at a time. And she would start to see a haze or a flash or a jagged line or dots. And I remember the one day she was having a little trouble. And then all of a sudden she said, "Oh, my vision has gone into the other room." And I thought she was joking. And so I was joking too. And I said, "Well, let's go into the other room then." And I went into the other room myself and closed the door. And I was holding up the cards, and Wendy got all the colors. So it's like, this is, you know, a separate part of you that can travel. It is your consciousness. You know, is it your soul? In fact, I don't know. I have no idea, but it seems to be this consciousness, which is part of you, you know, as Kat says, we have our physical body and our brain, you know, affectionately known as a meat sack, I guess, Kat, right?
Me
But
too.
we have this consciousness, which can be inside our body, it can be outside our body. And in that one day, it was obvious that Wendy's consciousness went outside her body and went into the other room. And it was as if her eye, like her vision, could see from that point. And just a couple of weeks ago, we were practicing right here in this room, in one of these chairs here. And all of a sudden, I could see the fireplace over here. And it was like, wait a minute, it's not from the point of view of where my head is. And Wendy says, well, where are you seeing it from? I said, well, it looks like I'm viewing it from the footstool, like where my feet were. So it's almost like, you know, kids think their moms have eyes in the back of their head. It felt like I had eyes in my feet, because where my feet were is where I saw the fireplace from, because I was looking up and it was from the exact angle of the footstool. So my consciousness, whether it was just random or whether I was doing it somehow unconsciously, my consciousness was from the point of view of the footstool. And I viewed the fireplace here from the point of view of the footstool. So that is your consciousness moving around outside your body.
Wendy, when you are able to see the object or something, you see like a picture in your mind, or you got message in your mind that this is whatever it is.
Okay. Well, I was just going to go back to what Rob was saying about your consciousness going anywhere. And I think we mentioned this before, but my distinct memory is when we were practicing by Zoom or by Skype. We were using Skype, sorry. And Rob was asking me what colors he had. I had the mask on and he was asking me what colors. But the thing that just blew me away is he said he directed me to his house. Then he told me to come up the stairs, go into his room that he was, and he said, I'm walking across the room to the window with a piece of paper in my hand. Tell me what color that is. What totally blew me away is I saw him walk across the room and I saw him standing at the window with the piece of paper. And I said to him, is it orange? And he said, yes. Now, Rob records everything. And I asked him to play it back to me later. And I saw exactly what the recording showed. I saw him walking. It was the exact thing that I saw. And that was the first time that happened to me. And it actually just kind of blew my mind. But I started out years ago, and we went to training, and I didn't see anything. It was funny. I actually got told I wouldn't be able to because of my age and other factors. So I only saw, finally, one night we were sitting in a B&B, and Liz was practicing with Rob, and I was in a rocking chair listening to him. And I had my mask on and I was just relaxing, rocking in the chair. And Marcus came over, threw a colored sheet of paper on my lap and said, what color is that? And I immediately got a flash and I said, pink. And he said, yes. And so that's what started me. And I'm finding with our age, it's a gradual thing. As we keep training, we're seeing more and more. We went from colors to cups, distinguishing where the colors are, where the cups are. And then we moved on to shapes and letters and stuff. And so it's a progressive thing, and you have to train and train and train in order to, at our age, kids get it right away. So, yeah.
So my understanding is, looks like you make kind of connection with Rob and you see through his eyes.
I've never seen things through his eyes. No, I never have.
Oh, okay.
I've always seen it for myself. I don't think you have. Have you, Rob?
No, it's really just when Wendy and I are training, the one person, like, for example, if she's training me and I wear the mask and I close my eyes behind the mask, so I get used to the dark. And Wendy will take me through various relaxation exercises, breathing exercises. It's really to slow the mind, the emotions, and the body, slow it all down and relax it. We're so much into our left brain, our intellectual, reasoning, logical side, and that's not where this exists. This seems to exist in the right brain, on the creative side. So Wendy will take me through all these exercises, get me very relaxed, and it's really guiding me to allow myself to get relaxed and just letting go and being a passive observer.
Just let it happen.
Feeling safe. Sometimes I will actually pass into the hypnagogic state between being fully awake and sleeping. And when I'm in that state, it really happens big time. When she gets me relaxed, then she will hold up colors. She will hold up symbols one at a time. And she doesn't even have to see them herself. Okay, she can grab them randomly and just hold them up, and I will see it. Now, for me, it's not so much exactly real time. For example, if she holds that up, maybe in 3 or 4 seconds, I will get like a snapshot of a square, and Wendy will say, is it open or closed? And I say, it's open, it's an open square. And she will even have me, she'll hold up a card and she'll point at a symbol. And she said, look where my finger is. And I will see part or all of that 0. Now, sometimes for me, it's opening in real time, but it's just very brief moments. And I'm going to now pass it over to Wendy, because just the other night, Wendy had a huge breakthrough. And I was very excited about what she described. And Wendy, maybe you can tell everybody after 3 years what you've had happen.
I think Kat's got her hand up though.
Yeah,
Kat?
she has a, yeah.
I see your hand.
I've been flashing it up and down, trying to get a word in edgewise. Can one of you hold up your mask and turn it sideways so people can see just how thick that is? Look at that. There is no way that you could see around that. Now, I've followed you guys for a long time now, since you started. And Wendy, in the very beginning, would also put bandages over her eyes and then put the mask on, which wasn't really necessary, but I thought it was interesting.
Well,
And
yeah, a lot of people don't believe it. They think you're looking through the mask, so that's why I did that.
Yeah, or underneath.
Exactly.
And that's what I thought that was really interesting, because I was thinking, well, maybe you're looking out the bottom. And then when you were forced to do it from separate homes because of COVID, then it became clear that there's no way you could be peeking or get a hint out of that. So it was interesting. You were most successful when you were completely blinded and in the dark.
That was actually a really funny situation, because I couldn't, my goal was to see with the bandages and the mask.
Uh-huh.
And I really wanted to do that. And I tried and I tried and I tried and I couldn't do it. And so this is going to be funny, but I was cleaning my house. And as I'm cleaning, my mind's always working. And my mind went, well, you have your eyes closed behind the mask, so why can't you see with the ice patches? And it was just like a huge light bulb. So I walked in, sat down, put the patches on, put the mask on and everything, and tried it, and boom, it was there. So I'm thinking I just had to tell my brain that I had to tell myself that it was possible.
Well,
Man,
Yes.
do you have any experience like this? I mean, have you tried to remote viewing something?
Yeah. Yes, I do have some experience with these topics. I think the most interesting and relevant thing that I could bring to the table at this point is to kind of dovetail off what Robert and Wendy were talking about, how when Robert was talking about how his consciousness was existing non-locally of his body existing. And I had a quick question for you, Robert, about that. Did you have 360-degree vision, or was your vision, how did you perceive sight?
People can have 360-degree vision. I haven't experienced that yet, but they say as you work with it and believe that you can have that, it will gradually open in a 360-degree way. I just saw like an image, like a snapshot, like a rectangle, like a just what I see with my normal vision, that kind of a frame.
It's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And all of this ties directly into my work as a paranormal investigator. I don't usually talk publicly about the more advanced applications of the methodologies, but sometimes it is required to assist somebody with what I call a distance clearing, where they're having some unwanted unpleasantness happening in their house. It's not a paranormal investigation seminar today, but they're having something happen that they don't want. They want to raise their vibrations. So I guess this all translates to my technique of when I'm on the phone or on a video chat with someone and I go into a deeply meditative state, I don't usually talk about this, I can project my awareness into that haunted location and I can change the vibrations remotely. And it's very similar to what you guys are talking about in how, you know, your consciousness isn't necessarily at the same height that your body is. You can perceive things in the house. If you get good at it, you can perceive unseen spirits, but that's a whole different conversation. But it's all that same mechanism of non-local reality. This ties into like if someone's, I can't really talk too much about this, but I've done some law enforcement style applications of this work. And it all comes to the same mechanism of our minds are non-local like radios, non-local transducers, and we're an electromagnetic battery. So we have these natural abilities to tune in to different frequencies. And if we can relax our mind, relax our body, and get in alignment with the mechanisms required to do this, yeah, I've had similar experiences myself.
That
And I'm going to throw this to Aman, but it's related to something that Rob was saying about your perception of where you were viewing from, like when you were seeing from your feet. Now, you have all heard of the Merkaba,
Mm-hmm.
the light spirit body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is like traveling. When you raise your frequency enough, your consciousness can travel. So I'm wondering, because of the studies with SRI, Stanford Research Institute, where they would remote view objects in other rooms. Well, they had a camera set up there and they were capturing photons, light particles left in the room where they never were physically in there, but it left a trail that somebody had entered and left. So when I think about the Merkaba, your consciousness, do you think that's what those orbs are that people capture in their films, like on your paranormal research? And I've captured quite a few myself on camera.
That's a really great perspective. I think the best way to answer that would be sometimes. In some of the orbs that I've captured, in some of the phenomena I've experienced, or even in my I guess dabbling in the field of CE5, I would honestly say I've seen more Merkaba style phenomena, like classic, you know, the two triangles rotating is the traditional depiction of a Merkaba. I guess if I'm being honest, I've seen more of that high vibrational, high intensity phenomena in my CE5 explorations. You do get colored orbs in paranormal, but oftentimes the entities that I deal with as someone who helps beings move on, whatever that looks like, a lot of times my demographic, if you will, might be a bit confused, might be a bit, I guess I don't want to use not non-judgmentally, but lower vibrational. So sometimes they can't attain those states required to fully charge the auric sphere and create that Merkaba effect. But yes, I've seen it, but I guess both in the paranormal and more in CE5 would be my answer to that.
That's interesting. I had done 5 years of studies up in Washington, and one of my instructors, we'd be talking, and all of a sudden he'd say, wait, we've got people coming in. He would have like a group of souls that had just left their bodies come in looking for direction. So this is the part that sounds weird, and back then I wasn't ready for it, but he would open up a portal and say, now look up and follow the light, and send them on their way. Now we're finding now that with your consciousness, we're more powerful than we ever thought. So just like remote viewing, just like with you seeing Blindfolded, you have to be able to open yourself up to imagine and recognize that it's not just your imagination. You are actually having that experience, but it's through your sixth sense, not through your physical senses. And I think that's fascinating that we can do that. consciousness exists outside our body, can go anywhere and any time.
All of you have some kind of experiences with this. Can you give some explanation from different point of knowledge, if that makes sense? Like this phenomena have different aspect of manifestations, but what's exactly happening when that process starting, if you understand my question?
Talking specifically about seeing blindfolded, Ivan?
I understand that when you meditate it, you're going to some kind of stage of conscious, and then you can see objects or situations or any kind of pictures, but how exactly that happened? Do you have any explanation of that? How happened? It's something like chemical process in your brain, or what happened?
This is such a fun conversation. Someone else take it first.
Okay. So I can only speak from my experience. You know, like a lot of people read books and understand intellectually and do lectures and so on. I can only speak from what I actually experience. And I will compare it to, and I know Wendy's going to get tired of hearing this metaphor, but it's the same as if you go to a rock concert, Ivan, and you and I go to a rock concert and I whisper in your ear trying to communicate with you right next to you. You will not hear me. It doesn't mean I'm not trying to talk to you and get messages across to you. But the noise is so loud from the rock concert, the band at the front, you will not hear me. Now, if all of a sudden you can get the rock concert to stop, the musicians to stop, you will hear me loud and clear in your ear. Now, I'm not talking any louder. It's just that you've gotten rid of that huge noise distraction. So really, all we're trying to do in this, it's very simple. All you're trying to do is get rid of all the noise that's in your left brain. Your left brain is where you exist generally on a day-to-day basis, you know, with your work, with your thinking, with your ego, all these things. This ability is there the whole time. It's been there for every single person, every single day of their life. But all we're trying to do is turn the noise down. So literally in the session that we do in the practice, Wendy will just get me relaxed. It's not rocket science at all. And when you get relaxed, it's like turning down the knob of the volume of that rock concert that's at the guys that are at the stage at the front of the concert there. And then it happens automatically. Like if you can just let go of your thoughts, your judgment, if you can be in a good mood, loving, happy, grateful, joyful, all of those things, that further enhance it. It's kind of like you have your left brain here, your right brain here, and it's connected at the bottom with that part of the brain. All you want to do is, you know, you don't have to shut this down, but just quieten it down, and the messages from this side will come across and you'll be aware of them. You will see, and over time, you can actually see in real time, and there's lots of videos on the internet and on YouTube of children riding bicycles with blindfolded on, driving go-karts, playing table tennis, playing games, everything. And, you know, we alluded to this a few minutes ago, but Wendy, I'd like you to jump in and explain what happened to you just a few nights ago, because as you say, at our age, it's difficult, but we've been diligent and you've had a breakthrough. And it does describe exactly where we're trying to get here.
Well,
Actually, I'm sorry that I probably interrupt someone. I actually, right now, when you talk about this, it's more clear for me. And also, something came to my mind. I watched a video with Chris Angel. He's one of the top magicians in the world. I watched a video. He driving a car with covered eyes and one lady sitting next to him. Is that a magic or really it's something like remote
Chris
viewing?
Angel. That's an interesting discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, considering he's also a
Well,
magician.
well, let me jump in here. I've got a friend who contacted me who wants to learn this. Friend right here in my town. He's been a lifelong magician. And he said, Rob, anything that you're doing, I can reproduce from a magic point of view. And when he says, when I mean magic, he said it's an illusion. It's not real. So
Okay.
to the person watching, it looks real, but the skill of a magician is just that. It's to do something in a manner that's not magic, but it looks like magic, and it's an illusion. So I can't say what Chris Angel was doing, but I imagine he was creating an illusion to make it look like he was driving blindfolded. But Wendy, I really want you to tell your story about what has happened to you.
Oh.
I don't want to save it to the last because, you know, we've been trying for 3 years here, and typically with Wendy, she'll move ahead a little bit and then she stops. I'll move ahead a little bit and it goes back and forth. So recently, Wendy has had a very big breakthrough and she's almost there in terms of the goal of seeing in real time, not just getting flashes of the letters, cards, and words in a book, but actually seeing it as a real-time video playing in real time, one-to-one with what's actually happening in front of her. Wendy.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't been practicing for quite some time. Like, well, I wouldn't say quite some time, maybe a week or so. And I went out walking. I walk every day. I went out walking. I met a girlfriend. We made a date to go out hiking and go out for dinner and stuff. So I was feeling really good. And I walked home. It was middle of the afternoon. I walked home, walked into my apartment and thought, I feel like practicing. You know, I just feel like it tonight. So I sat down and I didn't meditate. I didn't try to calm my mind. I didn't try to do any of that. I just sat down and started, putting the cards up. And as I was doing that, it just started to open up. And the more I practice, I have cards of everything, colors, shapes, pictures. I have everything. But the more I practiced, all of a sudden everything's moving, is there in real time. And I'm like, I just got more and more and more excited about it. And the final thing I had was these little hoops of colors. And as I'm doing that, I can see my hand moving. Like, this is in real time. This was with either the mask on or with the mask off and with my eyes closed. It didn't matter what I did. It was just all happening around me. I even got up, walked out to the kitchen, got a glass of water, went back, sat down, and it's still going on. And like I say, I was so excited. I texted Rob right away because it's like, you don't believe it. Normally we videotape this stuff, but this was just a happen. I just decided to practice. And I don't normally practice myself, training, but yeah, it was the first time. Like, I've had windows opening and closing and windows opening and closing, but this one stayed open for like 3 hours.
Wendy, can I ask you how you feel during this moments when you have this not visions, but these remotes?
Well, like I say, when I started doing it, I was relaxed. I was happy. I just went out walking, so you have fresh air and everything. And when I came into my apartment, I just felt really good and really excited. That's the only thing. But you got to remember, I've been practicing for 3 years. So this, and I've seen little bits of it. So this was the first time it opened up, and I haven't practiced since to see if it stayed open. I'm not sure, but yeah, that just happened a few days ago. So it was pretty cool.
Amazing. It's incredible.
Nat, do you have anything to add?
Well, I'd like to talk about how the practices are changing your brain chemistry. I don't want to get too technical, but a lot of what we experience comes through a gland in our brain. It's the size of a grain of rice, called the pineal gland, and it puts out chemicals called DMT, dimethyltryptamine or tryptophan, I think it is. And that's what gives us this connection to psychic abilities and mystical experiences, all the things that we do for practice or for making contact with our extraterrestrial friends, extra dimensional, whatever we want to call them. And the more you do things to quiet that left brain, or as they call it, the monkey mind. What is that in Vedic? Manakaya. Maybe Aman, you remember the name for it.
I'm trying to remember the Vedic name. I call it monkey mind in
that's probably the best.
speech.
So the practice of feeling emotions and living in gratitude, which I'm so glad you said that. Even in remote viewing, I have times when I'm blocked. Well, if you're taking the course, they tell you if it takes more than 3 seconds to connect to your target, you do something physical, drop your pen or your pencil that you're taking notes with. It's a way of clearing the slate and starting over. So I'll go outside and start writing notes. And if I get a block, I drop the pen. And then I start feeling those emotions of peace and gratitude and trying to shut out the world by focusing on feelings rather than everything else around you. So you have to distract yourself from the distractions. Would that be a way to describe it? Because we get wrapped up in our everyday thoughts of things I have to do, where I have to be. Did I feed the cats? Did I do the dishes? Did I pay that bill? And we have to quiet all of that down. Meditation, when you can sit quietly, and if you tell yourself you're going to let your mind go blank, that's almost impossible. So if you give yourself something specifically to think about that makes you happy, you're in control of what's happening in that moment rather than letting everything else just flow through. The more you do that, the more brain cells, neurons will develop and act as little antenna and open you up to all these psychic experiences. Everybody has the ability to do this. All you need to do is just start training for it and believing that it's possible. For some people, they don't know they can do it because they've never been told. History has made this a cult. A cult means hidden, but the word itself is charged as something negative, right? Because that's what we've been taught, that it's wrong. Through biblical studies, you shouldn't play with this. Well, I hate to tell everybody, but there's a lot of people that use this for good or for bad. And that's why it's been hidden. Now it's time for us all to wake up and start using these abilities because we are beginning to ascend in consciousness, to become kinder, better people. And I think the future is bright for all of us as we learn to communicate telepathically with other people that are out there. And you can't lie if you're talking telepathically because everybody knows what you're thinking. So we have to evolve and move on. So staying in those states of grace where you're feeling gratitude and love and compassion is what's going to raise your vibration and help you to have these mystical experiences.
You know, I have all the camera equipment for going out in the field to allow our eyes to see things that are unseen. For example, I've got a military grade thermal camera, which picks up heat. And while we talk about that real quick, Wendy and I have done a session for seeing blindfolded with our eyes closed in the dark, completely no light. And I've used a thermal camera, you know, one of my thermal cameras that I have, and we can do this ability also in complete darkness. You know, so you can have your eyes open or closed with a patch, closed with patch, and blindfold, doesn't matter. It doesn't have anything to do with light at all, it seems. We have captured it with the thermal camera, which only measures the heat. But mind you, heat is energy, so it could be picking it up that way. I don't know. Out in the field, I've got full spectrum cameras. I've got infrared cameras. So it does allow our natural eyes to be able to pick up things, or I should say, it does allow us to pick up things that we cannot see with our natural eyes. You know, a lot of people have difficulty believing there is anything other than what you can see with your natural eyes. But the problem is, that's only a very small portion of what's really out there. But for most people, that is all that's out there, is just what you see with your eyes.
What I think people need to realize is there are frequencies of light, just like there is with sound, that we can't perceive. Dogs can hear and smell things that we can't. And there are machines like your weapon of mass detection, as you call it. I love that, your WMD, where you're able to pick up frequencies that we can't. Now, the human body has the same ability to pick up on these, but I think it's amazing that our body can detect when something is in our vicinity with a different electromagnetic field. And I actually saw a video on that where they put somebody in like a Faraday cage, but with tubes all around it. And he was able to point to where the signal was coming from when they turned on the electromagnetic field. And that's how animals sense, like birds when they're migrating. They've got crystals in their mind that are tuned to the frequencies of the planet. So that's how they navigate.
Sure. I wanted to go back to that idea of where Wendy and I were in a 100% darkened room. So there was no light energy of any part of the spectrum, you know, ultraviolet, visible, infrared. There was no light energy. Now, there are other energies. There's heat. Every object has a temperature. And so the thermal camera was picking up the image, and you can see this video on the YouTube channel, and we can show that channel later. But the image was showing Wendy walking across, Wendy showing cards to me. It showed me there with the mask on. So it's the heat signature given off by the objects in the room. And there's slight gradient, different temperatures of every object. So the heat camera, the thermal camera, can make a whole image of what's in the room, totally in the dark. But what I'm trying to get at here is that ability to see with our conscious or whatever it is, you know, with the blindfold on, is it using heat energy? No, because when you look at the cards in the video, you cannot see the symbols that are on the cards. Because the camera is only picking up the heat from the card, all you'll see is our fingerprints showing up as black on the card, and you'll see the fingerprints gradually disappear as the heat dissipates. So, you know, we're kind of narrowing down, eliminating what energy it is. It's not light, it's not infrared light, it's not ultraviolet light, it's not heat energy. What energy is it? And maybe it is still part of the electromagnetic spectrum somewhere. You know, that, as Kat says, it's a pretty wide spectrum, but it's not heat and it's not light. But yet, when you see it in your brain, you see the picture of the card or the symbol or the object that Wendy is showing me, I see it as if it is light. In other words, the brain somehow, or the consciousness, takes that energy and assembles it into an image that's 100% duplicate of what is actually there.
The first time we tried this, we actually locked ourselves in one of Rob's bathrooms to try it. And so he stuck me in this bathroom. He's outside in the door, and he had actually put stuff in a drawer. I'm sitting on the toilet. He put stuff in the drawer in front of me. Sorry. He put stuff in the drawer in front of me, and he's on the other side of the door telling me to open up the drawer and see what's inside. And the one that blew me away the most is when I picked out a cup. Now it's pitch black, absolutely pitch black. I pulled out a cup, and I actually saw a turquoise cup in real time. Like, I actually saw the turquoise cup. It just was boom, the whole thing was there and then gone. And so how, like somebody said, well, you saw its energy. You saw the energy of it, but I don't know. I don't know. I just remember it happening, and it just blew me away.
Well, I guess, Wendy, you know, everybody these days says that everything is energy.
Yeah.
You know, we look like we're physical people, but when you zoom in to the molecular and the atomic level of our body, it's made up of atoms, which are energy. So all we are is this super complicated integration of all these little energies, of all these atoms, each one being energy. So we're this huge congregation of organized atoms, and each atom is just energy. So we are a walking huge collection of energies. So everything out there is also like this pen. When you look at the atomic level, it's just energy. It has the physical appearance to us on this level, but when you can zoom right in, it's just atoms that are energy. So really what's happening is you've got this energy body, us, interacting with an object like this, and it's energy and energy. So we are interacting somehow with that energy. And somehow our consciousness, our right brain is able to take that energy that it's sensing or somehow interacting with and focus it and reorganize it into a picture that's 100% duplicate of the actual object we see with our eyes.
Oh, the YouTube channel, it's Seeing Blindfold Training, Wendy Galat and Rob Freeman. And then we have our Facebook page too. And we try to help people to, well, we do train some people off and on, but we're trying to promote people to learn and get people working together on our Facebook page, getting partners and doing it over Zoom and Skype. I know Rob's training a few people at the beginning, and I said earlier that I'm really excited about this fellow in South Africa who has a school and who wants to learn and wants to teach his kids. So, but yeah, it's all new and it's all getting out there. So yeah.
Yeah. People can come to the Facebook page. I know you can put the link. There's the Facebook page right there.
Yeah.
But they can come and they can ask if there's anybody else in the group who would like to train online with them over Zoom or Skype. People can teach each other this. You don't need an ascended master to teach this. You know, we've got many people posting videos in the group who have just taught their kids who don't even know how to do it, but they just tell their kids you can do it. And the kids believe them and they do it. So that's a good place to learn. There's really not enough teachers in the world of this right now. There's way more people that want to learn it than there are teachers that can teach it. But they can teach the kids themselves.
Thank you. Simeon, can you see a correlation between remote viewing? I mean, the technical stuff that was taught by SRI, Ingo Swan's, his platform and how he wrote it all down. Do you see similarities between remote viewing and seeing blindfolded and other aspects of telepathic or psychic experiences? Can you tie that together in some way?
Oh, sure. It's a good question. I mean, we have sensory abilities that we don't use and we haven't been even told about. No one ever told us about any of this. It's these latent abilities we have. Ingo Swann thought there were at least 20 physical senses that we hadn't talked about. Physical senses. He talked about this at Austin at the IRVA conference in 2002, I believe. And he just said just other senses that are physical, beyond, not even mentioning the psychic ones that we, things we call psychic. So these are all innate natural abilities we have. And I'm not that familiar with, Wendy and Rob's work with blindfolding sensory abilities. But it would be the same idea, is that when you do RV, you're learning to move the conscious mind aside and listening to subtler signals. And I guess another way to do that would be to literally be like Tommy in that Who rock opera. And if you covered your senses, you would start using the subtle senses because you'd have to. And we know this is true from people that have become blind. I'm familiar with a woman, I know this can be very tragic, who became blind just recently, but she said her other sensory abilities took over. There were other abilities she didn't know she had. And I think that we have other abilities. We're just so used to the left linear brain, the logical thinking, the conscious thinking we're taught since kindergarten. It's very early that we get conditioned to narrow the blinders of our perception, but these other ones are there. And I would imagine that Rob and Wendy would agree that these abilities are there, but we just haven't explored them. And it's when you actually decide to take a class or sit down for a weekend and just see what's there, you're surprising yourself that these have been there the whole time. And it's almost like you've been asleep in your life during your waking state. You've been tuned to this program that we call, society and socialization. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just a limiting thing. But the other ones are there, and that's why there's a commonality between RV and these techniques they're talking about. And any sort of psychic, what we call a psychic ability, they're all related in my view. It's not separate phenomena.